Hi, my name is Mark Peterite, and today I'm going to show you how to fix the lid lock sensor in a Whirlpool Cabrio washing machine. Now, the symptoms are that when you plug this thing in, after it does its little self-test, you're going to hear a slight clicking noise, followed by the error codes E3 and F5. What this is telling you, it tests itself to make sure that that lid lock is fully retracted. Well, as you can see, it is fully retracted, but for some reason the sensor doesn't think it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing apart, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. Obviously, the first thing to do is unplug the power. Now, the washing machine still has somewhat of a charge built up into it after it's powered up, so even after you unplug it, it takes a few seconds to run out of that power. And now that it's completely done off, we can pull this thing away and start disassembling the top. Okay, on the back of the machine, it's pretty easy. You've got 1, 2 1/4-inch hex head screws to remove. Okay, now to remove the top, it's a combination of sliding the top this way about 1/4 inch, up, back that way about 1/4 inch, and then just kind of like wiggling it back and forth and lifting up to kind of get that cover off. Once you get the lid lifted, the lock mechanism is here at the top, and it's secured by 2 Torx T15 screws. Once the screws have been removed, just pull straight back to release the lock mechanism from the lid. The first step to getting at the lock itself is to remove these 2 Phillips screws to take both of these pieces apart. The next step is to disassemble this locking mechanism by removing and separating these 2 halves of the housing. These 2 halves of the housing just kind of snap together, and what you have here are a couple of ears. You see this one here, you just kind of push that out and you can start to separate these 2 halves. There's one here, there's one here, and these 2 are easy. Just flip them up with your finger. The other ones are on the other side, and there's 2 of them, one on each side. Problem with this one is it's easy enough to flip one out with your thumb, but then you go to flip the other one out, and that one will snap back in place. So what I found was the easiest thing to do was take one of your T15 screws that you removed earlier, and kind of wedge it inside, screw it into that one ear that you just opened to keep it open. Then take a flat blade screwdriver and wedge it in the other side to open up that other tab. And then you can finally get these things apart. And now what you see, you can kind of see the inner workings of how this thing operates. Over here you have the electric motor that slides the locking mechanism forward and backward. And then you get the first view of our actual culprit, and that is right here. So what you see here is you see these little fingers that ride along these traces. The circuit's closed, then you see this patch here that doesn't have a trace. circuit's open, and then it rests over here and circuit's closed again. So when this lock mechanism is fully engaged, you can see that the fingers are on those traces. When the lock mechanism is fully closed or fully open, unlocked, you'll see that those traces should be resting on these little pads, or the trace on the upper side and then that little pad on the lower side. What happens is that over time, those little metal fingers that write on those traces build up corrosion underneath, and they just don't make enough contact. The other thing is, that thing is so cheap, so tiny. Look, here's the size of my finger compared to that thing. What you see there is that little metal piece is so tiny, it has a tough time maintaining enough vertical force to really push on those traces. So there's a couple things we're going to do. We're going to remove this little metal piece here. We're going to remove that. We're going to bend those fingers down a little bit so that they get a little bit more force on those traces. Then we're going to apply some dielectric grease to the traces to hopefully maintain a little bit better contact in the future.
I misplaced the part of the video that shows how to remove this piece, so this is actually the clip where I put it back in reverse. You just need to pull that plastic piece down so you can remove that sliding piece.
Okay, what we need to do now is we need to put a little bit of dielectric grease on these contact pads. You want to put it on this little pad here, that pad there, and this trace all along there. The dielectric grease is going to help it to avoid building up the corrosion, which is causing it to not be able to make contact, and that should help eliminate those error codes. So what I did was I went to the automotive store and I got a little packet. I think it was maybe like 50 cents or something like that. It's just simple dielectric grease. So if you don't have any on hand, you can just zip down to AutoZone or O'Brien and ask them for a little packet of bulb grease, and they probably have something that'll help you. Just take a little bit of that on a toothpick and apply it carefully to those traces. To remove this little metal piece, simply lift the back up and slide it away. And now what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to bend them down slightly just to give them a little bit more tension against those pads. I'm not pushing much because I certainly do not want to break those things off. Then I'm going to put just a little scotch of dielectric grease on the contacts on the bottom just to clean them up. Then to reassemble this little thing, just slide the front edge of that back in there, in the little notch there. And there, it's reassembled. It's ready to go back onto the switch. Pull that plastic piece back down again and slide that back in. And there you have it. Now you have the reassembled switch, a little bit more tension on those contacts, some dielectric grease to help it avoid being corroded. This thing is ready to be put back together. Just line up these pieces and snap it back together. And now we'll reassemble the two plastic pieces here. Sliding that in there and putting these two Phillips screws back in. Okay, and that's ready to put back in the top. Slide that back straight on there. And now for the final moment of truth, where we find out if all of this was worth it. Plug that bad boy in. I wish you luck with your project. I hope this video was helpful.